Hello, everybody. I just wanted to take a brief moment to let you know about an approaching webinar that's going to take place on the 29th of April at 4:30 p.m. London time. Myself and fellow astrologer Carmina Amja will be hosting a workshop together on foreign residency and how to identify it using Vedic astrology and the cards of truth system. You'll learn how to determine if the potential for foreign residency exists, and if so, when that foreign residency is likely to come into being. So the fee for this particular webinar is $79, and you can register for the webinar if you wish at the link above in the video. Thank you. Bye now. Hello and welcome to the full moon edition of the Vedic Lunar Scope for the full moon of the 29th and the 30th of April 2018. The moon will be exact in its fullness at about 2 a.m. London time. Obviously, if you're in the States, the full moon is going to take place on the 29th. So there's that age-old saying that endurance will turn the tide. But how long do you have to endure before the tide gets turned, right? And if that tide is rising pretty high and it's coming towards you pretty strongly and ferociously, do you just sit there and endure it? Or do you do something in order to kind of avert that rising tide or to turn that tide a little bit more in your favor, right? In short, this full moon has you kind of pondering the concept of how much longer do I have to wait, right? Sure, I've been dealing with this, nagging little circumstance that's been going on for way too damn long now, and I've had it up to here with it, higher than that rising tide that's coming at me and like threatening to flood me if I don't do something about it. And so it's got you feeling a little bit nervous, right? But I can tell you that if you take an action now based on that nervousness, that action may stand a chance of making that tide grow even higher. It may bring that intensity on you in an even greater manner. And is that something that you can really kind of deal with right now? No, probably not, right? So even though there's that nagging little sense of nervousness and there's that tension within you that says, right, I've had enough of this and it's about time I did something about it. And fact of the matter is you've been doing something about it, haven't you? Right? And probably all those things that you've been doing about it don't really seem to be turning out in quite the way that you might like for them to in this specific moment. But one thing you have to understand is what you are doing is making a difference. It's making a difference. So the more you kind of get all torn and kind of beat up inside of yourself in terms of, right, this should have changed and this should have shifted by now, so it must be something that I'm doing wrong. Maybe I've been a little too gentle in this particular circumstance. Maybe I need to be a little more assertive and deal with it. And like the other old saying goes, take the bull by the proverbial horns and kind of, make sure that things are really kind of turned around pretty immediately, right? Because you feel like you can't wait. So, you feel like you need to kind of turn it all around. But the more you do that, again, the more difficulty you're going to create for yourself. So what's the solution? The solution is you just got to keep doing what you're doing, only do it with a greater sense of confidence inside of yourself, right? That, eventually it is going to make a difference. It's just sometimes we have desires, and no matter how strongly we have those desires, it doesn't necessarily mean that those desires are going to come into being. Does that mean it's wrong to have those desires? Well, maybe yes and maybe no, right? So let's talk about the maybe yes part of it being wrong to have those desires. If we let those desires become a little too overwhelming, right? And if we let them control us, then we begin to find ourselves in situations like you're dealing with right now, where you go, right, stronger and firmer wins the day. And what you end up finding is you end up kind of taking a stronger and more assertive action that creates more problems for you, like we've been saying, than you really want to deal with, right? Is it right to, so we were saying, is it wrong to have those desires? Well, no, it's not, because also those desires are what begin to propel you to take action. They're very justified and they're very righteous. But it's when those desires gain control of you, rather than you knowing how to harness that energy and put it to good work, that's when things become problematic. So basically, what you need to do is to use that overwhelming passion, that torrential energy that's building up, find a way to harness it, but temper it with a little bit of patience. A little bit of patience. Basically, we've got some interaction in the sky going on between this full moon as it's conjuncting Jupiter in Vishaka Nakshatra. This energy is speaking of a situation that hasn't really quite shifted yet, right? And sure, the part that's really good about this, Jupiter is a planet of grace. Jupiter is also a planet of wisdom and a planet of understanding. So yes, you may feel like you're kind of stuck between two worlds, but when you kind of work through this energy, one of the things you're going to find that this actually helps you with is it takes you into a space where, rather than just kind of giving in to this overwhelming desire to do something, you're going to kind of go, wait, I need to understand what the right thing to do is with this situation. Most likely, as you begin to toss that over in your head, you're going to find that you've already been doing the right thing. Okay. Also, there are some aspects going on between Saturn and Mars, Saturn to Venus, and Mars to Mercury, and also Mars to the Sun. Anytime you have Mars and the Sun interacting like this, there's this whole sense of honor that's in the equation, right? But honor and pride, as I've been talking in more recent videos, can very easily be confused, right? And so sometimes if we let pride get the better of us, then we feel like then we build up like this bigger chip on our shoulders that feels like we have something that we have to prove. When in reality, sometimes a rather strong dose of humility, and rather than trying to push too firmly against something, instead using that strength of will to restrain ourselves and to wait until we're able to see the bigger picture in a clearer manner, sometimes that goes a lot further than right here, right now, because I have my honor to defend and the honor of other people to defend. Really, that type of thinking isn't something that's going to serve you. Actually, the honorable thing right now is to be patient. It is to be patient with the process. You may feel like that is something that you can ill afford to do, but in actuality, it's something that you can ill afford to not do. So when is this tide likely to take at least the beginning of a turn? Most likely around the 6th of May, when the sun shifts out of Bharani Nakshatra and actually shifts into Kritika Nakshatra. It may come on the heels of an awakening, having to take a look at something perhaps that you don't want to take a look at. But if you take a look at that very clearly and with all honesty, it's going to serve your purpose in moving this entire situation in the right direction. If you could use a little bit of help with any processes that you might be going through in your own personal life, I do offer several different levels of astrological service. These are available through the astrological services page of my website. If you click the link in the video above, that will take you to that page. Thanks for watching the Vedic Lunar Scope for the full moon in Swati Nakshatra. My mind drew a blank for a second, for the 29th and the 30th of April, 2018. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.